They should be quick.
Come on, Mike Jones, you got the exclusive. You're doing great.
Yeah. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. We got a few microphones.
Go ahead, Grant.
Can you give us an update on Trent?
Yeah, Trent had a little wrist sprain. Right now it's a little bit sore. We'll see how it is tomorrow.
How about D'Angelo in a walking boot?
You know, they put him in that walking boot. I don't think it's serious, according to Larry. Doesn't think it's. He doesn't think he's too far away. You never know with those ankles. Hopefully, it's not too serious.
Seemed like pretty much everyone but you was out here watching Nick Barnett. What'd you hear from the report on his workout?
Sounded like it was a pretty good workout. Pretty good.
Any inclination as to whether or not you guys will be able to sign him?
Yeah, I can't tell you. You know, I haven't talked to anybody. I've been concentrating on practice, but it sounded like his workout was pretty good, so that's a positive.
What do you guys look for when you bring a veteran like that in with 10 years experience?
Well, what you do is look at a lot of film, and you do your homework on him and find out what he's done in all the places where he's been, and see if he fits into your program. We have a couple coaches that know him well, and that's one of the reasons why we brought him in.
When did Trent initially sprain that wrist? I know he had it wrapped earlier.
He's had a sprain since he's been in camp.
And nothing more serious than sprain in there?
Well, hopefully not. But, he's had it wrapped, since he's come into camp. It's been sore. He's been dealing with it for a while. But hopefully it's not too serious.
What have you observed out of Fred since he's been back in the mix?
He's getting back in football shape. I think he's done a great job for missing all of the off-season conditioning program. Sometime this week I'll give him a day off so he can recover a little bit. I was going to give him tomorrow off, just more prevention. He asked if he could go tomorrow, maybe get off Thursday because he feels pretty good, which is a good sign.
One-man game along the offensive line last year.
Pardon me?
Missed one-man game along the offensive line last year. How much was that continuity, the guys being together for all 16 plus the playoffs? How much did that contribute to the success of the offense?
First of all, you have to have, your offensive line has to work as a group to be effective. Even if you change, 2 or 3 guys in there. We do have more depth than we've had in the past, but you always want that continuity in the offensive line if you can get it. And fortunately, we were able to do that last year.
The only full week of 2 days you'll have. Is there anything you try to do to maybe keep it fresh or keep the guys fresh out there?
We change things, different situations. Like today, the first time we were in the red zone, had a little bit of no huddle, high-tempo offense. We've been doing 2nd and 10s, 3rd downs, move the football. So we try to sprinkle in a few different things so they don't get stale.
Mike, a good number of us got here late. Could you just repeat anything if you said on D'Angelo at this point?
I'm sorry if you weren't here. I don't repeat these. No, he just, a little bit sore. I don't think it's Larry doesn't feel like it's very serious. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But they just immobilized it today. He had a walking boot. But hopefully it won't be too long. He'll be back. With those ankles, you don't know for sure. But knowing D. Hall, he'll be back fairly quick.
You had a couple of guys. Justin Davis, I didn't see him out there. And Kimbrough appeared to be off on the side.
Yeah, Kimbrough had a hamstring. Tristan Davis came to my office early this morning and said that his heart wasn't in playing football anymore, and so he retired. And so unless he changes his mind, that's where he's at.
Mike, how has Chase Minifield looked to you?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, John.
How has Chase Minifield looked to you?
I thought Chase has done a good job, for getting a couple days in there at mini camp right at the end, and then for us giving him a day off. We didn't want to overwork him, and to look at what he's done out there, he feels good. There's no swelling, there's no side effects of the ACL, and so far so good.
What have you liked about what you've seen out of him?
Well, it's early. These guys are just starting to compete. We've just starting to get into pads, and these guys are starting to get into football shape, especially a guy like Chase. So you don't want to put too much pressure on them too early. It's a process through, the 4 preseason games and all these practices, but I like what I've seen.
Mike, what will it bring to your offense to have Fred back out there again, fully healthy with Pierre, fully healthy Josh, and then adding Jordan Reed into the mix too?
Well, the thing was interesting last year, as everybody has said, we had 6 new starters. And anytime you have 6 new starters, it takes a while to feel comfortable with your system. I thought they've done a great job. A guy like Pierre, a guy like Fred. Fred goes a few games and playing well, and he's set back, and he's excited to get back. A guy like Pierre, we also saw what he did in the second half of the season, and he's had a great camp. So you just want to give these guys enough where they feel like they get back in football shape, enough reps in the preseason where they can feel sharp, and hopefully it's full speed ahead.
Look like Chris Thompson has been out last 2 days. What's going on with him?
Nothing's been wrong with him. He looked a little sluggish. A couple days ago, we gave him yesterday off, and more preventive than anything. I thought we'd give him one more day. Hopefully he's back tomorrow and feeling good. But when guys are feeling a little bit sore, especially coming off the injury that he's had and the pressure we put on our running backs, I just thought, it was wise to slow him up a little bit.
One more. Jordan Pugh, he seemed to go off to the side at one point.
Yeah, Larry was just telling me he wasn't feeling very good, so we just took him out.
General league question about injuries. Because of the increased awareness of concussions and just other return to play and just general injury awareness over the past few years, is it taking longer for players to come back because trainers and coaches are being more cautious, either just in your experience or what you've observed in the league?
Well, I think with the concussions, we have experts at practice every day to let you know as a coach if someone does have a concussion. So that makes it pretty easy. They leave it out of our hands. They put it in the experts' hands. But, yeah, I think there's more awareness in a lot of different areas when it comes to injuries over the last few years, and rightfully so.
Coach, what have you seen out of Tom Compton so far, not only in this camp, but just since you guys got him last April and how far he's come? Chris was talking about that in June, how much he's improved in his eyes.
Well, you can see he's an athlete. He's got speed, he's got quickness. Now he gets a chance to feel comfortable with the offensive system. He picks things up fairly quickly. I like what I've seen. And, this preseason will be big for him. We'll get a chance what he can do against other football teams and put him in game-type situations as much as we can.
Mike, to follow up on that, what would he have to do to prove to you that he could play that swing tackle even though he's only practicing on the left side?
Well, if you're playing the left side, usually you have the quickness to go to the right side. You have that type of athletic ability. Usually the left tackle with a right-handed quarterback is the better athlete. And we think he has that type of ability. All we're going to do now is evaluate him and see how he plays.
Mike, when you look around the league the past couple of years, how has having multiple tight ends able to catch the ball in the field?
I'm sorry?
Multiple tight ends able to catch the ball at the same time out in the field. How much?
But who are you talking
just
about?
in general.
Well, I think anytime you have depth at the tight end position, I think it really takes a lot of pressure off the offense. Because if you lose wide receivers, you lose running backs, you have the option to go to 3 tight end offense. Really puts a lot of pressure on the defense because they don't see it very often. So we feel like we do have some depth this year at the tight end position. It's nice. Hopefully we can keep it. All of a sudden in one practice you can lose 2 just like that.
Hey, Coach, just 2-part. What do you think the level of competition is at right now at wide receiver? And can you just talk about what you've seen from Sky Dawson from the sideline? What do you think of him?
Well, the free agents we brought in for a reason. Everybody's got a special quality. With Sky, you can see his speed, his quickness, his return ability. That's the reason why he's here. I think he feels a lot more comfortable as a wide receiver right now than he did through the OTAs. They get that learning experience, that growth, and they go home for about 4 or 5 weeks and they study up. And they come back and they don't have to think as much. And that's what you want these guys to do, is come back here in these type of practice that we have and get a chance to compete and not think. There's a lot of competition. Anytime you have anywhere from 10 to 13 wide receivers on the team, you have to have a lot of wide receivers because when guys go down, you have to practice against the defensive backs. But we've got some quality competition there. We've got a lot of guys that can play in the National Football League, and not everybody's going to make the team. So you want to pick out the best players, and we got a lot to look at over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Anything else? Okay, thanks.